This is Sydney's Oran Park. Beautiful from above, and the drivers reckon it's just as good from where they sit. Very challenging, very entertaining, as Network 10 welcomes you to round 7 of the V8 Supercar Championship Series. We're in Sydney, and this is a special round for a variety of reasons. We say farewell to the reverse grid format after this, and we also say farewell to sprint race format after this. The Enduros are coming as we take a look at the championship points. Heading into round 7, Garth Tander has a 38-point lead over Craig Lowndes, and then Tander's teammate is sitting pretty in third with Rick Kelly. Then it's Ingle and Winterbottom, and it's a varied and interesting top 10. Talk about some drivers who are struggling. Look back there, two big names, Greg Murphy, Todd Kelly, 17th and 18th. And they'll be looking to change their fortunes. Hello everyone, Lee Diffie and Neil Crompton with you, along with Greg Rust and Daryl Beattie. As they roll, Neil, let's take a look at the finer details of this track.
You saw from the aerial, Oran Park is twisty, technical and undulating. It's also a crowd favourite and incredibly rewarding for a driver when you do get it right. The first challenge here is arrive with genuine pace at turn 1 and carry that correct speed for the arrival of turn 2. Arrive too quick, then you'll instantly lock the left front brake and damage your tyre. Arrive too slow, and you basically blow the whole lap and waste it before you even start it. And passing heading into turn 1 is virtually impossible, but you can sneak down the left side there at turn 2. Now beneath the bridge and into turn 3, it's a popular spot to pass. It's a 90-degree right-hander, second gear, pretty much a textbook corner. It's also a textbook passing opportunity. You can do it down the right-hand side. You can also crisscross your opponent here. By taking an extra wide entry, sometimes you can exit the corner on the shallow line, which puts you in the right spot for turn 4. Now for the next 6 corners, you pretty much play follow the leader. The sequence off the bridge all the way to the exit of the dog leg at turn 10 is great fun if, underline, your car is working well. You could also argue the whole sequence is a red zone. It's a one-line groove, very dirty offline and unforgiving if you make a mistake, especially with all those walls nearby. Now the turn 10 exit also leads to another great passing spot. Sometimes you have little or no vision when you're right behind another car here. It's a case of taking a calculated risk, rushing down the inside for the final turn. And finally, at the exit of turn 11, this is very much a red zone for the unwary. Push too hard and the rear will step out and you can clout that concrete wall. There's plenty of telltale scars there to verify that remark. Keep an eye on it this weekend.
Neil's given you the tips, watch for them in the race. Qualifying has been dominated by 3 guys, that remains the same. Jason Bright with his 3rd pole of the year as we take a look at the Mitsubishi Fuso starting grid. Scaife is alongside, Lowndes is there, and an ever-improving Todd Kelly. Maybe his fortunes are changing. FPR have been strong, but so too has Jason Richards. He's bounced back for Tasman, and there are the 2 Toll HSV dealer team Commodores. Tander the points leader, and Rick Kelly. And there is Dean Canto, a former Sydney sider, and he makes his first top 10 appearance. Well done. The 2 young guys in Fords, James Courtney, Will Davison, they're doing very well. And so too did Steve Owen in the Autobahn Commodore, and Greg Murphy's fortunes look to be changing. Struggling are the 2 Jack Daniels Commodores of Stephen Richards and Paul Dumbrell. And then further back, the first of the WPS Fords in Max Wilson alongside Stephen Johnson. It's an interesting grid as we work our way back. You may see there, last year's winner Russell Ingle, well down the order, past 20th position. Race 1 of 3 races this weekend. Let's do it at Oran Park, and Scaife gets the jump on Jason Bright. Beautiful start by the HRT man, and his teammate is going with him. Kelly swoops around the outside of Jason Bright.
What a start for both those red cars. Scaife, a beautiful getaway. Kelly slots in. This is where the trouble can brew. Back here at the King, so far so good.
Busy stuff, and there's contact there between one of the BOC Fords and one of the Paul Morris cars, the Team Suramay Commodores. It's Scaife, Todd Kelly, Jason Bright, and Jason Richards with a flyer for Tasman Motorsports.
At one point there, they were 3 wide at turn 3. A couple of the Toll HSV dealer team cars there were side by side. Will Davison getting a little crossed up at turn 4 across the bump.
Look how busy it is. Oh, James Courtney steps it out, gets it a little sideways. Wincup's in the mix. He's fighting with Greg Murphy. Looks like Steve Owen's been hustled back a few positions.
The story of the weekend has been one of trying to dial the cars to very strange track conditions by comparison with this time last year. They were the best part of 3/4 of a second away yesterday, Friday, from their regular practice times compared to 2005. Jason Bright did an outstanding job in the shootout together with FPR to claw back some of that lost time. He got down to a 1 minute 8.4. And slowly but surely the track's been improving. That black rubber groove is beginning to appear. Two HRT cars lead Jason Bright, then Jason Richards, Garth Tander, Rick Kelly, Mark Winterbottom, Craig Lowndes, Will Davison and Dean Canto. That's the 10.
Seeing a replay at the start, and this will show us what happened to Lowndes because he went from 3rd to 8th.
Yeah, he got a little bit too bogged down. The initial bite looked like it was reasonable for Craig, and then the car just went off the pipe a little bit, and he had another stab at it and then got a bit of wheel spin. So it just shows how quickly you can be swallowed up in this field on the run down to turn 2.
Doesn't get any more graphic than that, how competitive V8 supercar racing it is. Scaife, right at the top of your screen. Then his teammate Todd Kelly. And this would be a breath of fresh air for Todd Kelly to be racing at the front. It's the first time in a long time.
Yeah, his first 2 race meetings this year at the Clipsal 500 and the Australian Grand Prix were very good, and then everything that could have gone wrong since then has gone wrong.
Have a breathe, have a drink.
1 minute 10.1, Mark Scaife, first flying lap, 10.3 for Todd Kelly. That margin you can see is 3/4 of a second. This man's still in 3rd place, 10.5 that lap for him. That's a couple of seconds away from the time he did in the shootout. Jason Richards, last year a big ton of promise from this guy and the team, and he got in strife in the shootout and bolted off the road. It took him most of the weekend to work his way back. He's in a good position at the moment. Firepower on the side of that car this weekend. They've been rolling through a variety of different key naming rights sponsors in the Tasman Motorsport outfit this year. New fastest first sector for Mark Scaife. Not surprising as they find what the grip levels are. Tyre temperatures and pressures come up to the standard numbers.
Track temperature update for you, Neil. Prior to the commencement of the race, the ambient 22 degrees, on track it was 25. That information courtesy of the boys from Dunlop Motorsport. Also too, it's been a case throughout practice and qualifying for Tasman Motorsport, particularly for Jason Richards, of monitoring their noise levels. The strict limit here at Oran Park, they've apparently breached it on 2 occasions, so 2 warnings so far. They do not want to get a 3 strikes and you're out scenario for Jason Richards.
That car does have a distinctive note. Often they need to put little deflectors or shields at the end of the exhaust pipes. Sometimes even perhaps go back and repack the mufflers. That's often an issue here. Echoes through the valley. Strict noise controls because of the, unfortunately, the nearby proximity of the houses that are sprawling through southwestern Sydney. 1 minute 10 even for Mark Scaife that lap. 1.1 seconds is the margin back to Todd Kelly. Bright, Jason Richards, Garth Tander, Rick Kelly, Craig Lowndes, Mark Winterbottom, Will Davison, Dean Canto. James Courtney 11th, he's moved up 1, then Stephen Richards. Whincup, Murphy's still in the same spot he qualified. This is with Craig Lowndes. Watch this, a little touch up here right in the middle of the corner for Rick Kelly. No big deal, crossed up.
Lowndes has got plenty of pace on board at the moment, and that'll be a source of frustration because he lost 5 positions from the start, as we showed you earlier. So he's trying desperately to get 1 or 2 of those back. Tander's mission this weekend is to take more points off Lowndes. He's in the correct position at the moment. Would like to be further up. Dean Canto there fighting for his 10th position, hassling Will Davison. And there is the 7 Jack Daniels Commodore of Stephen Richards, who's made up 3 positions from his starting spot of 15th. But he's got Whincup right behind him, who was hustled out of the top 10. And he's trying to play catch up as well. On board with Richards now.
He's chasing Courtney. Scaife's done a 1:9.9. That's James and the Gerald went forward just in front, looking through the screen of the JD Holden.
James Courtney grew up not far from here, near Penrith, but he's never raced on this full Grand Prix circuit. There's 2 circuits here, the Southern Circuit and the Grand Prix one. He did a lot of laps here on Monday in a Ford Focus rental car. He said, I just needed to have a look at the place.
And he spent a lot of time at this end of the track in go-karts before he ventured to Europe to become a junior and a senior world champion. But this half of the track is foreign territory. He did have a run here at a drive day last year in a V8 supercar. This is the first time he's had a run in earnest around the track.
Keep an eye on Russell. Sorry, Neil. Keep an eye on Russell Ingall for their pit stop. That team going to try and put Russell in a situation where he's got some clean air. He's fighting his way and really testing his patience right now, running back in 20th position.
Russell Ingall's on the radio saying that the car's all over the place at the moment, so he's uncomfortable. Little graphic there told you that the pit lane's open now. If you want to take the compulsory stop, it's about a 38-second transition through the lane.
All right, Rusty, pit this way, mate, pit this way.
That's the call from Barry Hay, his race engineer. And will Craig Lowndes dive in early, get himself out of this uncomfortable situation with Rick Kelly because he's not making any progress there. You look back at his teammate, Jamie Whincup, who sits 13th at the moment. This is a 38-lap race, incidentally, and the pit window is between laps 5 and 26. Look at Scaife, he's skipped away. He's got a 2.4-second lead over his teammate, who's coming under increasing pressure from Jason Bright in the Cat Ford.
And Todd looks like he's just battling a little bit at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a small adjustment on that car during the stop. Jason has got what appears to be a little edge on him at the moment in several places. Scaife last time through was out to 2.4 seconds. Here we go, compulsory stop. Kelly, Bright, in. Remember last year, Lowndes got pinked here. A lot of people got in trouble at pit in last year. V8 Supercar Australia have told us that they've... look at how close those cars are. Brighty is absolutely on his bumper bar. All the cars calibrated to the 40Ks. They squeeze every last tenth of a kilometre per hour out of them.
And Lowndes is in. You can see the 888 there. Stephen Richards is in. Russell Ingall is in. It's a busy time. Let's see who wins this stop contest. Will it be FPR or HRT?
This is going to be critical lead, like you said. Bright, 2 rear tyres. A little slow on exit as Richards is pitted in front of him, so Bright's going to lose out on this one. And that team critical with their drivers, talking about brake bias, as that team has had brake problems in the last couple of races.
Craig Lowndes jumped in front of Jason Bright. That was important. That was for position.
And a great stop also, Neil, by the Holden Racing team. Todd Kelly, a ripper stop by HRT. And they made a wholesale change. They dropped the rear roll centre in car 22.
Nice work from 888 Race Engineering to get Lowndes out so swiftly.
I think Russell made some ground there too. I sense that he made some ground on that in-lap and into the pit lane. We'll see. Lee Holdsworth down in 26th at this stage. We'll wait for the field to shake out though on the computer scoring, but that was a critical move for Lowndes. Got some track position back there. Here's Scaife.
And in the space of the first 7 laps, he's got a 6-second lead. He's enjoyed phenomenal success at this circuit. We mentioned James Courtney doing go-kart racing here. Mark Scaife did go-kart racing here many, many years ago. Winterbottom's in. So too is Garth Tander. Oh, and Winterbottom's had to wait. This is Queensland Raceway all over again. He had to be patient. There's Tander. He's gone.
Great job, guys. Well done.
And he's gained a position on Jason Richards.
Push hard.
Nifty work there by the HSV dealer team.
And Garth quickly on the radio saying, hey, great job, well done, giving them due reward for processing that car very quickly. This lights up an interesting battle here.
Now is Scaife coming in this time round? Yes, he is.
He won't want to spend too much time in behind Marcus there.
Watch the speed limit.
What I was going to say before we got a bit excited about the margin between those 2 cars that came in, Jason Bright and Todd Kelly, was that V8 Supercar Australia put particular focus on making sure that they get the reading of the car's speed
Not Jack, not Jack.
absolutely accurate.
You have to swing around tire blocks. You're getting that shit in the way.
And Rick Kelly is in behind
Swing through
Scaife.
the board, mate. Swing through their bay if you can. Hit the board, hit the board.
I've just had a word to Rob Starr here at the front of the car, and he said to me very quickly, no changes to Mark Scaife's car. They put new rears on car 2. He's gone. In the meantime, the second of the Toll HSV machines is in. Oh, it's traffic here. Whincup in as well.
That was close.
Okay, mate, way go, way go.
It's very difficult to illustrate it correctly on TV, but when you stand down there in person, there is nothing between these cars, and there's such a tight and often dangerous working environment down there, and the guys in the pit lane do a marvellous job.
And there's a massive amount of pressure, Lee, and we probably understate it, but it is a genuine team effort, not only making one of these cars quick enough to get around here at the right pace, but then to manage it in the lane and get that job done. Wheel and tyres heavy, getting it up on the locating lugs is not a simple process, let alone handling the gun.
Neil, you know better than anyone. You can see it when the drivers pit here, the view out in front of the V8 Supercar, especially with a wheel on the ground. It's difficult to see because you sit so low, but teams here being very critical of other drivers trying to get out and keeping the hose lines out of the way. It's all so close.
The other thing that happens here, and we just had a glimpse of it from the onboard as we look at the next group of cars coming in to be processed, is that the descending sun in the west becomes a problem on the run between turns 7 and 8 here. Quite difficult also in the braking approach to turn 3, and that'll continue to get bad for them as the race wears on.
They're cycling through very quickly. That was another good stop from Stone Brothers Racing for James Courtney. Just 10 cars left yet to pit.
And he'll come out in behind Winterbottom, I believe. Will Davis and his mate up on the inside. He's going to have to yield, and Stephen Richards buys into that one as well. Oh, loses 2 spots in the process. So that was awkward for James Courtney.
So they've got that compulsory pit stop for tyres out of the way. Canto yet to do his own. That's disappointing for Steve Owen, because he was having a very strong weekend. Qualified just outside the top 10 in the Autobahn Commodore.
Just steering broken, is it, mate?
So
Copy that.
Oscar Fiorinotto has damage to the front right-hand corner, maybe a steering arm. So that is going to delay them in the pits for quite some time.
Lowndes continues the chase on Todd Kelly. The pressure is on. When we return to Oran Park, we'll tell you more about it. Craig Lowndes and Todd Kelly, as we were in the break, Lowndes nudged up the inside of him into the opening turn, tried to hustle him through turn 2, and then Todd Kelly responded with some forceful driving himself to maintain his position, but he is under pressure. Big time, because here comes Tander buying into the argument as well.
Todd ended up wide at turn 2 then, and they were rubbing guards on the run down to 3, but Todd, being on the inside, had the ideal run. They were certainly pretty willing when they got down there. Here it is, watch this. Craig sneaks up the inside. I didn't think he was going to be able to do it, but Todd didn't quite get the car turned in, and it looked to me as though Craig had a bit more track position, but of course it's not to be when you end up down there on the right-hand side.
Zinger replay with Lowndes. Oh, thank you. There's an opportunity.
You know what? I reckon that he felt that Craig was further up and actually left a bit of space for him. Then it became a bit of a drag race. Craig looking in the mirror and then realising there's not much you can do out there, because you end up in the marbles down at 3.
The pressure is on now, and this is allowing Tander to get closer and closer. Only 5 cars left to complete their compulsory stop, and that's Canto, McConville, Morris, Brad Jones and Jose Fernandez.
And Lee, in between time, Matthew Crawford, the engineer on Todd Kelly's car. Okay, so that's Campbell Little.
Keep close, nice and tidy.
Campbell Little, the engineer for Craig Lowndes, just coaching him, telling him, look, listen, we're on to it. We're going to talk to race control about Todd Kelly. In the meantime, the radio chat between Matthew Crawford, the engineer for Kelly, and Kelly is, hey, stand your ground. Lowndes has got more to lose than you do.
Not feeling all that well this weekend, Todd Kelly, suffering a little bit from the flu and trying to break that dreadful run of bad luck. This is effectively the battle for second in this motor race.
Dean Canto,
He's doing a good job.
Dean Canto's the leader. He's got a 13-second margin. Still more cars to process, though. And Todd's lacking a little bit of the mid-corner speed that Craig was showing there at the final corner, but he came off the corner well and got down the straight quickly, holds his ground into 1 and 2.
Incidentally, in that 22 HRT Commodore, they're using a revised specification of gear lever, because Todd's had so many problems with that. It's a, you might like to detail more, mate. It's an up-spec, it's a stronger one to avoid those breakages that they've been having.
Yeah, oddly enough, they've not been repeating the same problem. As they've made different mods to the gearbox, they've created other problems, and the last one was the ball at the bottom of the gear lever itself, if you like, which fractured and the whole handle blew apart. So they've continued to chase these issues. Hopefully they've got them all ironed out now. But it's basically brutality, but the drivers are trying to minimise the amount of downtime from the rear wheels not driving, and so Todd, like everybody else in the field, is flat shifting, and then the shift from 3rd to 4th is where the problem is for him, I think, most of the time, and they've been having issues with that. So anyway, they've modified it. Hopefully he gets through a race weekend without that sort of drama.
Paul Morris is the only guy yet to stop for his compulsory pit stop for tyres. So the order is effectively Mark Scaife, Todd Kelly, Craig Lowndes, then Rick Kelly, then Garth Tander, then Jason Bright, Jason Richards, Mark Winterbottom and Jamie Whincup. Here's your race leader.
That was a nasty lock break for Mark Winterbottom on the run to turn 2 then. I reckon that will have put a mark on the tyre, and he'll feel it thumping back through the steering wheel. Be careful down there. Inside edge of the tyre takes the beating when you flat spot it. If it exposes any of the carcass of the tyre, then you can be making another pit stop that was definitely not on your schedule.
There Very good stop by Rick Kelly's crew and by Rick, because he was behind Tander before he pitted. He pitted later than Garth, so a very solid job there.
Roland Dane, boys. Roland Dane, the team boss at 888 Race Engineering, has just come across the pit lane here and had a word to Kurt Saksuski, the operations manager for V8 Supercars Australia. He wants something done about Todd Kelly. He is asking them to review it, and apparently it is under review now. Now, is there a problem for one of the HRT cars? I think Mark Scaife in trouble, boys.
He's heading down into turn 2 at the moment. Well,
it sounded funny as it went past me here.
Got no gear.
There you go.
Oh, Scaife.
He's got a problem. I just heard him say on the radio, no gear, it's in neutral.
Scaife is crawling.
I wonder whether it's the same problem that Todd had. Unbelievable for Scaife, coasting on the run to turn 3, reporting that the thing's in neutral.
Now he's grabbed a gear. He's watching the field go by. And there's Robbie Starr. Face says it all, doesn't it?
No, he's got no drive. I think there was other audio that we were picking up then, so he's off the side of the road and out of business.
Rob, it sounds as though the car is stuck in neutral, is that right?
Yeah, it's lost drive, the engine's fine, but it's in neutral somehow. We're not really sure whether it's gearbox related or drive line, so we don't really know until we see it.
This is a hard luck considering the dramas that Todd's had in recent rounds, Rob.
Yeah, it's terrible, and obviously Mark was out the front and running comfortably, and the car was running quite good, so this was hopefully a good round we were hoping for, and it's not happening, unfortunately.
Hard luck.
Tough, isn't it, when you're leading, and he was leading by about 4.5 seconds. So that hands it back to his teammate. Kelly is at the front. Lap
Safety
16
car.
of 38.
Safety car, the yellow's just flashed up on the computer timing here, and race director Tim Schenken is just arranging the safety car to be deployed, because I didn't realise Mark's actually stopped on the racetrack there on the right-hand side on the approach to turn 4. They're going to have to retrieve that car. It's in a dangerous spot.
Okay.
Now, Paul Morris is yet to stop. I imagine that he'll peel in, and that'll reveal then Todd Kelly in the lead of the race, being harassed by Craig Lowndes. I didn't see Kelly blocking as such. I don't think he's got the pace of Craig Lowndes, but I don't think he's going to jump out of his way just because someone else is in the queue.
Well, Paul Radicic, you've seen a disappointing day for Mark Scaife, and it's been the same for you.
Yeah, it's been a shocker for us from qualifying, and today everything's got a good start, and was running really well. We're happy with the way the setup of the car was, and pit lane just come in a little bit too sideways, come a little bit too fast, and Russell was in front of me, and my fight entirely, I just misjudged the speed that I was coming in at, and hit the wall on the right hand side, is trying to avoid Russell, and it's done a lot of chassis damage, so we won't be out today.
It seems like this year though has been pretty consistent for you. You've been strong.
Yeah, it has been a little up and down. When we've been running good, we've been going really well. You know, like at Queensland last time out to finish in single digits is great. So we've been running a little bit hot and cold, which is a little bit frustrating. But you know, we'll keep trying to the end of the year.
Go off and sleep on it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, let's hope the guys can fix it, because it's taking a big hit.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
And the rumour down in the paddock continues that we will hear sometime soon of Team Kiwi Racing switching to Ford. We'll have more on that for you, perhaps by the time we get to Sandown. Several guys diving into the pits for fresh tyres. We are under safety car period here at Oran Park. When we return, we will go racing. As we get ready to go green, ready to race here at Oran Park. Can Kelly sustain this pressure from Craig Lowndes? We're about to find out. Back to green racing. Todd Kelly is the race leader, approaching the halfway mark of this 38-lapper. Both the Toll HSV dealer team cars well placed. Rick Kelly, Garth Tander, then it's Jason Wright, then it's Jason Richards, and Winterbottom's in there as well.
Hold your breath in these restart moments where Courtney up on the outside of trouble back here in 3. Courtney on the outside of Stephen Richards and Will Davison. Oh, the car's off the road down there as well, so there's been a bit of nonsense down there in 3.
3 cars off the road. 2 are the BOC Fords. Brad Jones and John Bell, both off track. Meanwhile, back at the front,
It only takes a couple of degrees of tyres cooling out and the pressure to drop a pound, half a pound or more. Very little indeed for the car behaviour to change. You're just going to be a little bit circumspect for the first few corners until you feel that you've got the security back under you to race aggressively. Now, Lowndes, as always, is very quick from turn into apex. He's a little quicker in a few places than Todd Kelly. Kelly's car's making very good exits. This will be an interesting battle.
Just look at the stuff on the track, turn 3 forward.
And that's Jason Bargwanna, is it?
I didn't get any of that. What was that? Got a lot of smoke off your right rear tyre. Just be careful. We're just going to monitor it.
Just looks like the guard has folded onto the tyre a little bit, or perhaps even the rear bumper.
This is where it's at, though. Lowndes on Kelly.
See, Craig's just got that extra K or two in the middle of the corner, which is serving him well at the moment, but it's very difficult to use it around here. There's only a couple of spots where you can really consider sneaking through. None of these locations we're looking at here are real decent passing opportunities, but look for him down the inside into the final corner. That's a possibility. Look for him up the inside at the end of the main straight.
Yesterday here at Oran Park in the 2.5-hour practice session, Craig Lowndes was upstaged by his younger and less experienced teammate in Jamie Whincup, who was the fastest. Craig set the 11th fastest time. He then went back and sat down with his race engineer, Campbell Little. Usually has a 1-hour debrief to go through the data. He had a 3-hour sit down with Campbell Little. Shows how determined the multi-time champion is. He's serious about being champion again this year. And look, the results speak for themselves. He sits second and hounding Kelly for the lead.
And I tell you, Rick Kelly is buying into this as well, and Craig can't afford to move around the circuit too much in his pursuit of Todd, because if he opens a gap, then Rick will fire into that hole for sure.
There's Campbell Little. We often talk about Campbell. He's on the left. Former Stone Brothers man, in fact, and there is the team owner, team principal, Roland Dane. Ludo Lacroix to the right there. Jamie Whincup's engineer.
Concrete verges inside several of the curbs around here have been widened this year. Turn 7's one of them, then turn 8 that we're looking at here. Up the top of the hill here, what we describe as the dog legs, got additional concrete on the left-hand side. You can see the colour difference there. There's quite a few spots, and the idea behind that is to reduce the amount of dirt that's being dragged up onto the racetrack, which has the effect eventually of narrowing the race line, Greg.
Just want to show you something that can happen in the heat of battle here at Oran Park. During that safety car period, there were 2 unscheduled stops for both the Super Cheap Auto Commodores, Cameron McConville and Greg Murphy, and it was for the same thing. Left front tyres. Check this out. This is off car 51, Murphy's car. Look at this enormous flat spot down to the canvas there. Unbelievable. Just hard luck for Murphy. Unscheduled stops, boys.
And that all happens in between turns 1 and 2 in that high-speed approach. And we've already seen cars go off in qualifying today. So lots of lock brakes in practice. It's pretty much the standard deal here. Cars are so heavy that as you're turning to the left across the bumps there, it unweights the left front tyre. You're trying to slow the car down because you're doing near enough to 250 Ks on the approach. A little bit too much brake pressure instantly locks that brake, and then it can damage the tyre. As you saw, it was right down the middle bands there, so that wasn't good. No wonder they stopped.
First time in 5 or 6 years that we have had a triple race format here at Oran Park. For the last handful of years, it's been a 2-race format, and that has caught the attention of the drivers as Lowndes intensifies the pressure on Todd Kelly at the front.
Lowndes is definitely closing the margin. He looked very carefully into turn 11 that time. He's getting a bit racy, and this will be a spot that he looks long and hard under here. He almost got away with it earlier, and I think Todd gave him a little bit of space just in case. One of the reasons it's hard for Todd to see down there is they don't run a left-hand mirror on their car. Notice that on Craig's car there is mirrors on both sides. In a V8 supercar with your helmet on, with the wings on the side of the seat, with where you sit in the car, where the rear wing is and where all that bar work is, eventually you have a massive blind spot and you can sense where the other guy is sometimes. You've got a rough idea, but it's actually quite difficult. So no left-hand mirror makes that a little trickier down there.
The Kelly brothers of Mildura run 1 and 3, and Todd made a mistake there.
Yes, he got very crossed up out of 6. He slid all the way across to the wrong side of the ripple strip at 7, but he gathered it back up. One of the amazing stats in this racetrack, Lee, is that you only use 100% throttle a third of the time. The rest of the time around here, it's all delicate balance of the throttle, moving the car around, shifting it around, shifting all that weight around, controlling that weight, and keeping the tyres on the road in full contact with the road makes a huge difference.
The younger of the Kelly boys, Rick, sitting back in third, is doing a very good job, and he in turn is putting the same kind of pressure on Lowndes. Now we go back to fourth, fifth and sixth. Tander, Bright and Jason Richards for Tasman Motorsport doing a stunning job. And then Winterbottom from Whincup, who's regrouped to get himself back up in the top 10 ahead of Will Davison and Stephen Richards, who's come from 15th to 10th, so he's heading in the right direction, Richo.
Well, you talked about Rick Kelly doing a good job at the moment. His weekend didn't start in the best fashion, not on track, but off it. Unfortunately, he was driving a rental car here in Sydney when, to quote him, he was SuperArchive from behind by a four-wheel drive. It rode off the rental car, so a bit of a shake-up for Rick, but no nerves out on track there, as you can see. Darryl?
Right as well between 1 and 2. Bright getting a little locked up every now and then and tapping the back of Tander, and behind him Jason Richards is trying to make a move, so there's a good battle there in behind that group as well.
A great battle is the term for this race. It's going on everywhere, isn't it? 14 laps left to run. Who's it going to be, Lowndes or Kelly? Incidentally, the winner of this race, of this round I should say, for the last 6 years has gone on to be the champion. Is that a sign we should look for in Craig Lowndes? Early days yet.
Interesting to look at lap times. The last time through for Todd and Craig, it was 1:11.3 apiece. Rick Kelly 11.7, Garth Tander 11.6. And then the next 4 or 5 cars are all in the 12s because they're all racing each other. There's a few more lurking in the 11s beyond that, but the times, as always, drop away dramatically here as the laps unfold.
Greg Murphy fighting for position well down the order with Paul Morris fighting for 20th. Doesn't sound right, does it? Greg Murphy fighting for 20th. It's been a headache of a year. The team are working overtime to get it back on track at Super Cheap Auto Racing. And I was just speaking with Greg. He said they will have a different car, or it looks like they'll have a different car for the Enduros coming up.
Remember, that was a brand new car for Todd Kelly at the last round of the championship in Queensland. Didn't get terribly far. We're seeing this constant seesaw of Craig getting very close in the mid-corner, and the drive characteristic of Todd's car and the much wider approach gives him a totally different mid-corner speed and a different exit speed to Craig. And he's got enough space by the time he gets back to this critical spot that he's really not under threat. You heard Matthew Crawford on the radio encouraging Todd before, drive that car straight. You heard Campbell Little doing the same with his man, Craig Lowndes. Very important thing around this track, not to slide the car too aggressively. This is a spot where if you just kick the ripple strip in the wrong way, wind the car sideways and it can really hurt you.
Doing well, isn't it? That's tough to handle that pressure for that long. Kelly's doing good.
He's done it many times before, and it's actually enjoyable. If your car's working reasonably well and you're in one of those real get your teeth into it battles, you don't want to blink and you're in full focus. Don't think of anything else other than trying to squeeze the last thousandth out of your car and yourself. Great challenge, and it's a great reward when you get it right.
7 to go, mate. 7 to go.
All these key guys have got the mental toughness to do this lap in, lap out. You look at their lap times, very consistent.
Is this going to be the place right here where Lowndes makes a huge dive on Kelly when he deems the time is right? There's still plenty of this motor race to go, and Todd Kelly of the Holden Racing team is still the race leader. We'll see if he can stay there when we come back. More from Oran Park on your home of motorsport, Network 10. Dramas here for Garth Tander, the championship leader. There's smoke billowing from the car, but it's only on occasion. That might lead us to say that it's a rubbing guard, and that is it right there.
The power steering, mate.
Garth saying it's the power steering.
GT in this lap, GT.
That's the voice of Rob Crawford. Now, that happens around here often because of how aggressive you need to be over the top of the curbs, straddle them in the wrong way, and it is possible. I've seen steering damage and related equipment equipment in times gone by. Daryl, can you add?
Yeah, Neil, that kind of gives you a bit of an answer why Jason Bright has dropped back but still held position. He had Jason Richards all over him. I watched him go down into 2 and Jason Bright ran wide, and now the picture is, I would imagine it's the oil out of Tander's car that's made Jason go wide. Now he's got to try and close that gap again.
Yeah, that's what it will be then. We were sort of sitting here thinking, what's happening here with Bright? But it'll be because a little bit of fluids on the road in front of the Caterpillar man. So this is bad news for Garth Tander's championship, lying in 4th position. In a great spot, and then forcing a stop there, and it won't be a particularly brief stop, I think, to get to the problem of it and solve it.
Matt Nilsson, the engineer on Garth Tander's car, has just been urging Rob Crawford, can we keep him out? Can we keep him out? Garth thinks it may be a power steering problem, but I can tell you the boys are all on standby here in Tander's pit bunker. He will be in shortly. He's in the lane.
He's in, Greg. Yeah, he's in right now. And you heard the dejected voice of Garth Tander respond to Rob Crawford and say, yeah, righto, I will come in. And look at the huge gap that's left there between Rick Kelly and Jason Bright, fending off Jason Richards, Mark Winterbottom and Jamie Whincup. These are all inside the top 10, fighting for valuable positions. Reverse grid coming up, race 2. It will be the last one.
Car number 18, Will Davison, after his terrific run, is going to get a drive-through penalty for overlapping at the restart.
Mate, you need to tell me Rick's garage.
Oh, there's confusion here. He's put the car right in the middle.
Yeah, they're calling for the Go-Jacks just to swing the car around, and GT just making the remark that there's not much lock available on the cars, and you've got to aim them up from a long way out to get them in the right spot. Greg's in the background.
I think also, Neil, what may have happened is that they've set this up just hurriedly in Rick Kelly's part of the HSV garage. So Garth was actually taking aim at his side of the pit garage and realised that he had to swing it in tighter. And of course, with that power steering the way that is, it was so much more difficult.
Well,
black flag being shown there to Will Davison, currently position 9 for Dick Johnson Racing and the Accor Premier Vacation Group Ford. So very frustrating for him after what should have been a terrific result. And Lowndes is really beginning to threaten Todd Kelly now.
What exacerbates that problem for Garth Tander is that the man he is fighting for this championship, Craig Lowndes, is out ahead of him, fighting for the lead of this very race. So Garth wanted to gap Lowndes. It may in fact be the other way around. Lowndes may catch Garth by the end of this weekend. There's Davison, who Neil was just talking about. Incidentally, to update you on Russell Ingall's progress, after starting outside the top 20, Ingall is currently running in 14th. And that is very much a Russell Ingall kind of day. He just chips away at it. Never say die.
And against his name, currently shows 76 points for his trouble. And that's what you've got to do on a day when your race car just isn't there. And he had such a frustrating run in qualifying. There's that sun setting that I was talking about, making it hard the run down to turn 8. He couldn't get a run going. Every time he did get one going, there was a red flag because of another incident. Basically completely ruined his shot at qualifying, got buried in the pack. When you're buried in the pack, digging your way out is not an easy process.
If you're asking yourself, wasn't this a good round for Russell Ingall last year? Yes, it was. He won it. It's the last time he's won a race, in fact, 12 months ago right here. It was enough to propel him and head him in the right direction to be the champion of 2005. And he's looking for the same success this weekend. It's going to be hard from where he is now, but he wants more points. He's currently 4th in the championship, and a lock up there from Canto as we go inside the HSV dealer team.
So there's more to it. Obviously,
Greg's there. What do you see, Greg? Well, hear what the boys are saying?
I can't hear at the moment. We might be able to do this on the fly here and have a word with Garth. It sounds like it's power steering. Was there any warning, GT, at all? What happened?
No, mate, it just went taily, and obviously I was taily on my own oil, and then the power steer went in and out, and yeah, that's it.
Are you trying to get this thing back out there and salvage something, or is it game over for this race?
Oh, mate, we need to get back out there because otherwise we start at the back in race 2 in the reverse grid race. The least we can do is try and get back out there and then start up the front in the reverse grid race.
They're busy here, boys. We'll let them get back to it.
The secret is, with this reverse grid format racing and this triple race format, is that you need to finish well in this first race. You need to finish, otherwise it's weekend over.
If you DNF, and that's what Garth was alluding to, then you end up starting at the back of the reverse grid race, so it's like a double whammy. Now, it's interesting because Craig, a lap ago, was a little closer to Todd, so he's holding his own at the moment, Todd Kelly, and they just continue to go through this expansion and contraction process. Here's Mark Winterbottom up the inside of Jamie Whincup. Good move. Battle of the Ford men. And these guys are disputing sixth at the moment.
Whoa, good
back
work.
the other way.
Whincup comes back, so Winterbottom had the high position and obviously got by. Whincup got by, then Winterbottom returned the favour. Now Jamie's back ahead and heading in the right direction.
Stephen Richards and James Courtney have crept into the top 10 as well. The order at the moment: Todd Kelly, Craig Lowndes, Rick Kelly, Jason Bright, Jason Richards, Mark Winterbottom, Jamie Whincup, Stephen Richards, James Courtney, Stephen Johnson in the 10. Just outside, Max Wilson, Dean Canto, Russell Ingle. Ingle's now 13.
Driving nice and straight, pal.
Neil, I've got a feeling that time around Will Davison was missing in that battle with Stephen Richards and James Courtney. And he's just gone past here on pit lane, back in the field, so there's been a mistake for him.
Yeah, that was the black flag we were talking about a little earlier for Will Davison. Here's the Zinger replay. This was the first part of it. And so, as we were saying before, Winterbottom had the higher position, then Whincup comes up alongside. Never actually executed the pass.
Great racing between both these young blokes.
Yeah.
Just Mark Winterbottom just pinching a brake a little bit, takes him a bit higher. But what that did was give Jamie the opportunity for the crisscross that we mentioned at the top of the show when we looked at the graphics around the track. So a wider entry, a tighter exit, bingo, track position when you get to turn 4.
That's good, clean, professional racing. You can see there they kept an eye out for each other. Meanwhile, back at the front, this is the race for the lead with 4 to go. Can Todd Kelly do it? He's never won here at Oran Park before.
Todd was just offline a little bit that time. Yes, and he exposes himself at the final corner.
Oh, it's going to be wall. That's good racing from Lowndes and Kelly.
What a great battle between these two pros. Kelly was wide at 8, and that was the sniff that Lowndes needed. And he hangs on down at 1.
No, say Todd Kelly. He is not giving up. This is fabulous, and it's been going on right from the start. This was originally the battle for second and third until Scaife's car gave up the ghost. He had a gearbox issue. Lowndes on the inside now, not close enough. Through 3.
And Kelly's not driving defensively down there, so he won't come under any scrutiny from race control. He's giving space, but he is not letting go.
And at 18th in the championship, you can understand Todd Kelly's philosophy. He's got nothing to lose. Just go for it.
Good race.
Fabulous race, one of the best of the year. And quite often the opening race of these triple race weekends have been.
This is the spot, the previous lap, where Todd just made a tiny mistake. He wasn't quite on the perfect line. Made him slow out of 8, therefore slow over here. And Craig just fired down the inside into the last corner. Pretty much a standard manoeuvre. This time Todd just covers a little more. He's turning in a frag earlier now than the previous time.
Job, Todd. Great job, mate. 3 laps to go, pal.
See Todd just wiping the sweat from his brow, and he's a busy boy. 12.5 that lap. 12.7 for Lowndes. 12.3 Rick Kelly. 12.2 Jason Bright. 12.2 Jason Richards. So those guys have got a bit of pace. They'll actually buy their way into this battle. Here's the replay of the previous lap. Zinger replay. Watch Lowndes down the inside. And then they run side by side through turn 11.
This is respectful driving. It's hard, fast driving, but look at that. Side by side, you can't get it any better through one of the most difficult corners on Australian motor racing with that concrete wall right alongside. Last 2.5 laps. Think about when you go to work with a head cold or you got a touch of the flu, you're sitting at your office desk, it's not easy. Well, how about driving a V8 supercar? Because that's how Todd Kelly feels this weekend. His muscles are aching. He's not particularly well, but a win will make him feel better.
And if he pulls it off, he becomes the 8th race winner in 2006. And we've not seen his name on top of a championship round race so far this year.
Earlier replay. Dean Canto and Russell Ingle have been going at it for quite a few laps, and Ingle crisscrosses and slips through. Over and under, gotcha.
And that'll look like a 50-cent piece, that front right-hand tyre on Dean's car after that one. Little margin now for Todd Kelly. 12.2 that lap. He settled down, found a little bit of pace. Remember, he was slowed when the two of them were battling. Both of them slowed by about 3 or 4 tenths on that previous lap. More battling back in the pack. That was Paul Dumbrell. Looked like he was battling with Greg Murphy. They're disputing 14th and 15th at the moment. Side by side to turn 1. Paul's in an awkward spot. Jason Bargwanna's in there as well.
Hasn't there been plenty of good racing in this one? Oh, squeezes through on Canto. Canto's lost 2, almost 3 positions.
Yeah, I reckon Dean's limping with that tyre, which will have a crease on it from the lockup that we saw on the Zinger replay. 0.4 of a second is the margin between Todd Kelly and Craig Lowndes. Rick Kelly continues to get closer to that battle. It's happening every which way you look at the moment.
Dumbrell really forcing the issue here. He was frustrated to be starting outside the top 10. Uncharacteristic for the Jack Daniels boys this year. But he said, we'll do our best and keep punching on. And talking about punching on, that's what the WPS Ford boys have done. Max Wilson started 18th, he's 11th, and Bargwanna's a little further down the order in 16th. Back at the front, final lap.
Lee, just very quickly, a dejected and bitterly disappointed championship leader, Garth Tander, is out of car 16. They hurriedly tried to put a new power steering pump on his HSV Commodore. They have not been able to get him out there.
That is gutting. He will be very, very frustrated. Meanwhile, Lowndes forces the issue, tries to give Kelly a little nudge and unsettle him, unsuccessfully.
He was right at the very braking limit that time, Craig. He had the rear brakes just pinched a little. The car was sliding into the corner. Kelly was at his limit as well. You could see by the way he was tippy-toeing the car. Rick Kelly's lurking. It's a watching brief for him. This is going to be a critical run down into the final corner for Lowndes and Todd Kelly.
Lowndes is brilliant up through the dogleg. This is it. It's building. Wait for it. Here he comes. Craig Lowndes. We ride with him.
Kelly was online. He concentrated to make sure he put the car in the right position. Gets a good exit. He knows that he needs to cover down here. He's going to be permitted to in terms of the rules. Lowndes has a look. I don't think he's going to be able to get the job done. Todd Kelly will be the 8th race winner in 2006.
Todd has never won at Oran Park, and Kelly does it.
Work, mate, good work. That's some good driving for a young bloke. Well done, mate.
It certainly was good driving, and he handled that pressure the entire race. Well done, Todd Kelly. Never even had a top 3 race result here at Oran Park. So he's gone straight to the top and won, while his teammate Mark Scaife will be bitterly disappointed with the mechanical failure. There is Scaife. He looks out and sees his teammate and applauds him. And it was a super performance from Todd Kelly. To sustain the pressure from Lowndes for that long was awesome. And his younger brother Rick finishes back in 3rd. As we check the VB scoreboard, wasn't that a beauty? Terrific opening race of the weekend. It was happening all the way through, you could say, the top 20, maybe even the entire field. When we come back, we'll hear from our top runners. Stick around.